The Loan Amortization Table project accepts an amount to finance from the user, an annual interest rate as a percentage, the month and the year of the first payment, and those are ComboBoxes, and the number of years for the loan. So for a home, it's usually 15 or 30. If you're going to get a loan on a car, that's probably going to be anywhere from 5 to 7 years, depending on your lender. We can then click the Show Amortization Table, and it will show us what's our monthly payment, and then displays a table of each month's payment, the interest amount paid that month, the principal paid, and the remaining principal. And of course, the disadvantage of a loan is you're not paying a lot of principal at the beginning, you're paying much more interest. So over the course of this 30-year loan for $350,000, if we made the monthly payments as scheduled, which are $2,200.74, I'm going to pay over $400,000 in interest, and my total payments are almost $800,000 for that $350,000 home. If I'm doing a vehicle, and let's say I'm going to do a $50,000 vehicle, and maybe this one is 5.25%. I'm going to finance it for 5 years. Well, my payment on that vehicle is $949 a month, but I'm going to pay almost $7,000 in interest and end up paying almost $57,000 total for that vehicle over those 5 years. This project uses a two-dimensional array to create all the values in this table, and then iterates through that array to generate the table, as well as to find our totals for the amount of interest and the total payments made over the course of the loan. Here are the instructions for the project. Alignment using two-dimensional arrays, as well as getting some experience using ComboBoxes, screenshot, the assignment itself. And in this project, we're going to use two methods to calculate the monthly payment and to calculate the interest payment of each month. So the monthly payment is going to be the same throughout the entire course of the loan, and that can be used, and we can use the PMT method built into Visual Basic to calculate that. It has three parameters. One is the annual rate divided by 12, or compounding that annual rate by monthly. The number of payments we want to make, that's the number of years times 12. And then the principal is a negative value. Make sure you make that a negative principal. The interest payment for each month will be calculated as the annual rate divided by 12. The month number, so we're paying far more interest in that first month than the very last month. The number of payments overall, and again, a negative value of the principal. Here's the storyboard and how I named all of my controls. Some tips on the code. The tendency is to put a $ in front of a financial figure in a form by a user, as well as a percentage sign. We're asking for percentage, and if we do that, we can't convert those to numeric values. So I created a function to get rid of the $ and the percentage sign before I try to convert it to a double. In fact, this function actually takes the string, strips those two characters out, and converts it to a double and returns it. Give you a little table of how to calculate each of the columns for that two-dimensional array. And then I use ternaries as I go through that year.month, calculating my month and my year for each row, so that when we get to 12, we're going back to 1. So December back to January for the next year. If the month is 1, I want to advance my year by 1. So we go to January, we're now in a new year. I used the string.format to create the columns of my table. Remember to set your font to Courier, New, or some model space font so that the columns align really nicely. And I gave you the code for how I displayed the table. I'm going to suggest you pause here, build the application yourself using my storyboard, then code it. And if you struggle, come back and watch my code review. You've already seen my storyboard. So I'm going to jump over the code. The only thing I'm coding is this button of show amortization. So I do have my function that I created for num only, where I'm passing it a string, and I'm going to return a double value. I'm simply going to replace any $ with nothing and any % with nothing, and then convert that to a double and return it. Here's the code for the amortize loan, which is handling the click event of that button. I created a formatting string for my 6 columns. Remember that if a column width is negative, it is left aligned. Otherwise, it is aligned to the right. For numeric values, I usually want those aligned on the right-hand side. TXT header is the text above my table. And I'm going to use string.format, passing it my SF formatting string. And I have 2 rows here. So I have TXT header.text, and there's some blank columns, and then interest, principal, remaining. And then right below that is another row. So my text box is a multi-column holding 2 rows. And then I have month, pay number, payment, paid, and principal. I'm going to dim principal equals num only. I'm going to pass it txt principal.text. My number of payments is an integer. I'm going to take the value of my combo box for the loan length, take its text, and multiply that by 12. That's the number of payments, 12 months in each year. I'm creating then an array called payments. It's a 2-dimensional array. The number of rows is the number of payments minus 1. I do the minus 1 because the first row is going to be 0. And then the columns is 5, going from 0 to 5, so 6 columns. It's going to hold double values. My month is an integer variable. It's going to equal the text value of my combo box CMB month converted to an integer. Do the same thing for my year. Rate as double is going to, again, I'm going to take num only and take the txt rate.text. I'm stripping out a percentage sign if there's one there. I'm going to divide that by 100. So I get a double value starting with 0 point something. My monthly payment is going to be calculated using that PMT function. So there I'm passing it the rate divided by 12, so it's compounded monthly, the number of payments, which I've already calculated as the years times 12, and a negative value of the principal. I'm going to create a variable called remaining principal that's going to equal that principal, and we'll use that value as we calculate what's the remaining principal after each month's payment. Total interest as double equals 0, total payments as double equals 0, LBL payment.text equals my monthly payment.toString. That's going into the output just below my button. I'm going to clear the table. TXT table is the name of my text box. And then here's my loop. I'm going to build my 2-dimensional table. For I equals 0 to the number of payments minus 1. My payments array, element I, column 0 equals CDBL. I'm going to put the value of my year dot and my month converted to a string. And that'll give me year.month, such as 2024.10 for October 2024. Payments I, column 2 is I plus 1. So I'm going to get a running number of payments going from 1 to however many payments there are. Payments row I, column 2 equals the monthly payment. We've already calculated that. I, comma 3 equals the interest payment for that month. Again, using that IMPT function, passing it the rate divided by 12. The month number is I plus 1. Total number of payments, and then a minus principal. Payments I, comma 4 is going to be I, comma 2 minus I, comma 3. So we want the payment minus the interest. That's how much we paid on the principal. That's the column 4 there. My remaining principal then is decremented by the amount of the principal paid that month, I, comma 4 for payments. And then payments I, comma 5 equals that remaining principal. My month I'm going to convert for the next month by adding 1. Unless it's 12, then I'm going to set it back to 1. And if it is 1, if the month is 1, it's January, I'm going to increment the year by 1. So that's my loop that will go through and build that 2-dimensional array. Then I need to populate the table. And I do that in a loop, just going back through that array. I'm using my formatting string and showing each of the columns in each row, building that table one row at a time through that loop. As I'm doing that, I'm going to calculate the total interest and the total payments by getting column 3 and column 2 of my two-dimensional array. And then I'm going to display those in my labels. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the Programming Practicum playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos I create, you can click my picture in the top right to subscribe to the channel.